Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Motor Chaos. It's your host, Dave. I got online with me special guest, driver of the Heetseeker Fuel Altered, Dan Hix. How's it going, Dan?
Oh, pretty good, guys.
So, how'd the year go for you with the Fuel Altered? You have a good year?
We had the best year we've had to date. Come out of the gate with a 6 flat, perfect qualifying time at the March meet, and went on to win the race. And then throughout the season, we come out on top of every matchup we had, all the match races, and we won Boise, the Night Fire Nationals, with the #1 qualifier there as well, and it was just top notch season. I mean, we couldn't ask for anything more.
That's awesome. How many events did you guys run this year?
We ran a total of six, counting the match races. We did Woodburn and Salt Lake City and Denver, Colorado, and Boise for the 6-0 race and March meet, and we're hoping to add a few more, maybe up north, because we recently moved to Woodland, Washington, and we're looking to maybe go to Spokane or Seattle this year, maybe with Bucky's group or whatever we can make happen on that.
All right, so let me ask you this question, Dan. How did your whole career in drag racing begin? How'd you get involved, and what year was this?
I grew up around my uncle, always was into drag racing, and my dad and they had 5 brothers, and they were all into either street racing in high school. It turned into, they got a car as a couple, Hix brothers started out at the Nova, and they went up through the ranks. But my uncle Dave is kind of the driving force on the family racing throughout those years. And then when I, grew up around it, just being a little kid, kicking tires in the pits and walking around checking out all the other cars. And I always liked the detail of them and just the construction of them, and it always intrigued me. Even as a kid, I remember just staring at them and going, wow, man, that's cool how they do that. And I always wanted to learn how to build stuff. And so I'm pretty driven to learn how to do all aspects of what it takes to put together a race car like this, from sheet metal work to tubing, chromoly, TIG welding, all that. It takes a pretty rounded, you got to know how to do a lot of different things, and you got to do them well. So, got to be right in the end, and there's a lot of pride goes into it as well. Put a lot of effort into what I build, and luckily for me, it usually performs.
So the Heetseeker was built by you?
Yeah, I purchased the bare chassis from a guy over in Idaho, Mitch McDowell, and I was in the process of just collecting up parts to build my own car, and I seen this chassis sitting over in the corner of his shop, so I asked about it, and he was kind of liquidating everything, and so I ended up, I thought, you know what, that'll just speed up the process instead of building the whole chassis and everything. So I started with that, and then proceeded to build the whole rest of the car, from mounting the body and building all the wings and the fuel tank and doing the tin work and stuff. So, and I paint all my own stuff too. So, kind of it's just it's been a lifelong dream and a project at the same time.
So what year was the Heetseeker completed?
What's that?
What year was the Heetseeker completed?
The Heetseeker, I started that build back in 2001, and probably by about 2003, I was pretty well done with it. But that's when my wife and I had a couple of kids, and so that kind of put the kibosh on building the car, finishing the whole rest of it. And at about that same time, the fuel voltage races that I was going to with my uncle, they all kind of started to slow down, or actually just get the kibosh from the funny car group starting up at that point, the nostalgia funny cars, and those guys were willing to race for a lot less, and so a lot of the races that we used to go to with the fuel altered, they just ended up just getting pushed right out.
All right, so what year did you actually start running that thing then?
We debuted at the 2014 March meet. That was something that just came about over that winter, that 13 winter, and they Blake Bowser decided to add the fuel altereds to the program for 14, and I didn't even know about it until my friend John Cagley called me up and told me about it and said, man, how far away is your car? And it was just lacking a few pieces and certifications to get it going. And we threw a number together of what we thought it would take to complete it. And over 3 months, we put the whole thing together, got the truck and trailer up and going, and the car all, put together for real to go run. And we tested the weekend before and got licensed and then went to the race and just wanted to hopefully qualify and make a few runs and not hurt anything or not, have any issues, and ended up qualifying mid-pack and ended up in the final against Jeremy Sullivan and won the race. So, a little luck on our side and just kind of didn't have anything go wrong. Mark Lee helped us that first March meet, and he overseen what we already had. He showed up for the weekend to help us, and he's guy's been around it for a long time and really helped us, stay on top of things, making a bunch of adjustments. And we were running the car for just literally the first time. I had some experience racing with my uncle, but running a new car, you got to work the bugs out of it sometimes. But it was pretty much a success from the start. We just really kind of been doing the same thing and tweaking it here and there, and just staying on top of things, basically. And it's been a lot of fun.
So, can you tell us what the experience was like to drive a nitro fuel altered for the first time?
For the first time, I was fresh out of racing wing sprint cars on dirt, so it kind of it's probably the most similar thing that's not a fuel altered is like one of the wing sprint cars on dirt. They're just kind of a little on the edge, and so I took to it pretty good. It's pretty. Getting used to the acceleration is pretty exciting because they don't. Once you hit the throttle, it goes from the starting line all the way to the finish line. It doesn't poop out like some other cars pull real hard early, like an alcohol car. They'll kind of not pull hard to the finish. These things on the good pass will pull all the way to the chutes. And it's an addicting, exciting, fun thing to do that not very many people in the world get a chance to do. A pretty low percentage of people ever get the opportunity. So to get to do it and be somewhat successful at it. Just a pretty lucky and fortunate guy. Pretty exciting.
Man, that's awesome. So let's go back again your career. So before the fuel altered, what other cars have you raced in?
Just grew up as a kid racing, dirt bikes and 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers and that. But my first actual race car was after I came back from school down in Arizona. I spent a year down there going to school at high school, and I was 19 years old, and they were building a circle track in our local area of Medford and so they were building this new track, and just heard about what classes they were running, and thought, man, that sprint cars, I watched them down in Arizona, and when I was down there in Manzanita, and man, they were just bitching, and I started putting the car together in my mom's garage, and I'm just a kid still, and during that time, I met my now wife, and she was still in high school, and her graduation was the night of my first race, and I actually missed her graduation to go race my first sprint car race. She stuck with me over these years and gone to a lot of races since, and it takes the sacrifice of time and money and effort, but at the same time, it's a real family atmosphere at the races, and so to take your family there and have fun and meet people and get to race this car is kind of just an add-on.
So right now for this Heetseeker fuel altered, how many crew members do you have, and who are your crew members?
Total of crew members, John Cagley and Mike Bosby are the two guys that hit me in the beginning and helped me get this thing off the ground, and they've been with me ever since. And a big part of it, he helps with the promotional side of things and finding sponsorship. And John does a tremendous amount, and so does Mike. And they're good crew guys too. They both do the top end. We each have our job, delegated at the racetrack, so we keep it, simplify it that way. And with John and Mike, I got my son Donovan. He does the clutch, and my other son Blaine, he helped out with everything else going on with the car, from mixing fuel and whatnot. my wife. My wife helps pack the chutes, and she backs me up. And then you got, however many guys, 10 guys at the races, somebody's got to help get the rest of it going with the food and the grocery shopping and all that. But she was a big part of it. But then we have last year and the year before we had a father-son, Alice and David from Idaho. They have a powder coating shop over there, and they wanted to get involved, so they helped sponsor us, and then they came and went to all the races and helped out on the crew as well. David helped with the clutch, and Alice did that, and mixed all our fuel. But then we have guys like Ron Bolte that comes in from time to time. He's somebody that I've known since I was maybe a teenager and been around racing with Clint Thompson. He was a crew member for Clint, and he's a guy that can do anything on the car, and he's a great help and a great guy. He comes to all the big races where we actually have to make qualifying runs and short turnarounds during elimination day, and I always like to have an extra guy like that to help, just in case we have to have a midday trash, and good to have an extra hand. So he goes to what races he can. My dad went to the races with us and helped out from the beginning, and just recently, decided to stay home and look after his little dog. And his little dog had a lot of health issues, so he kind of had a tough time there. And I hope he's going to hopefully go racing with us again this summer and get back on that. But it's a huge undertaking to get it all handled and stay on top of it. And until you do it, there's a lot of people that have done it that can vouch for that. But the time and the energy and away from home and traveling, and it's a tough deal at times. So you gotta love it, and you gotta just have it in you to keep doing it, or it'll kind of beat you down.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
So what goes into preparation to get the car ready for drag race weekend?
Yeah, it's kind of a hard time hearing it.
I said, so what goes into preparation to get the car ready for a weekend of drag racing?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I said, what goes into preparation to get this car ready for a weekend of drag racing?
Oh, we usually pull the heads off of it, and check. Usually you can smash a ring in between runs. You want to look the rings over and pistons and make sure everything's good there. We usually tear it down to the short block, service the heads, check the springs, that kind of thing. Put the heads back together, put the whole piston and rod assembly back together after looking all the bearings over. But just a lot of inspection, a lot of trying to just catch something before it fails, rolling your lifters and inspecting them closely, because that valve train really takes a beating on these things. And that would be a normal disassembly. Put a fresh clutch in it. Just looking things over constantly. So reassemble it and show up with it. Usually ready to race on race day. Some people show up testing in test mode all the time, it seems like, and they're not as focused on showing up ready to run. They're usually trying to figure out, I guess, how they want to make it run, I guess, and showing up with a game plan, going to different racetracks where the altitude changes drastically, or the conditions of the track surface, and kind of taking that into account. And it definitely helps having a few laps under our belt now, to where repeatability is something that we're confident in. And when something doesn't work right, you're focused on what's ailing you at that point. Just showing up with expectations to make runs, and even try and put a number on it. You're trying to run in this area, and hit your mark. We somewhat have a handle on it, and I'm wanting to kind of move forward at the same time. So we're gonna experiment a little bit with a different car this summer. We're gonna run a nostalgia funny car at times. I don't know how many times, but we're gonna give it a go and see what we can do with making that car run.
Now, is funny car going to be the same? You're going to change the body on the car?
No, we have just a separate car. The Heetseeker will stay just as is, and basically I took my spare engine, which is identical to the one in the Heetseeker, and put it in the car that I got from my friend Paul Shackleton in Australia that was already over here in the States, and they put a deal together where I bought it from him because he didn't really have the means. He didn't want to run it over there in Australia, so he just wanted it to stay over here. But, yeah, I've always wanted to run a funny car. You know, as a kid, you grow up watching Prudhomme and Beetle, and you know, everybody's got their favorites, and you just, as a kid, you just get excited about always wanting to have that opportunity to do that, and then getting to actually do it and realize how lucky I am to do it is it's, I don't know, it's a feel good moment, I guess. At the same time, I want to keep moving forward and setting new goals, and without taking sacrifices that, you know, I still am a father and a husband and got bills and got to get up and go to work to, you know, every day like everybody else. So you got to be careful about what you do, I guess, so you don't step on your wallet.
Yeah. Well, then Chris Graves has that funny car chaos event. Are you thinking about doing any of those funny car chaos events?
Yeah, I don't know much about them. I heard of them, but I'm not sure. I think I don't want to make plans to do anything with the funny car until we get it out and run it for the first time, and just kind of see, hey, you know, see what it's like to run another car, and you know, see what it tells me, basically. See what kind of feedback I get. If things are good out of the gate, then we might see about, you know, going to some events that'll allow us to run our Minor Brothers engine. That's right now it's limited. I hope it opens up a little bit, and this maybe the UNFC will allow them, and then we can go to all these races in Spokane and Edmonton and Seattle, and there's a lot of good races that Bucky puts on, and maybe they'll drop their guard on the NBR, and there'll be an opportunity, and hopefully the car runs well, and never know, maybe we'll hit a few races.
All right. So currently, Dan, who are all your sponsors?
We have Chewy's Mesquite Broiler down in the Southern California area. They're one of our primary sponsors, and we have Clean Boost Oil. They sponsor us. We have SVR Plumbing. SLR Plumbing. What else we got? Yeah, we're. I mean, right now it's the off season. We're still looking to seal up, you know, some other deals. But as of right now, that's who's on board for the upcoming season.
All right. So now, who are some of your drag racing inspirations? You know, when you back when you first started getting into drag racing, like you mentioned Raymond Beadle and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've always I like the blue collar kind of guys. You know, I mean, most everybody worked on their car back in the day. To where nowadays you got drivers, and it seems like too often the drivers are just kids of people that have money, and a lot of opportunities bought in the big dollar racing these days. And I always like the blue collar guys. It seemed like, you know, Billy Meyer. I don't know. I think he's a big bucks kid guy, but I don't know. I just like racing. I never really had a you know, an exact favorite that I was pulling for.
Yeah. So did you were you a fan of the Don Prudhomme and Mongoose McEwen and all them?
Yeah, as a young kid, I had the Hot Wheels set, definitely. Always thought they were pretty cool. They kind of put it on the mainstream of getting big sponsorship back in the day. That's, you know, a big part of how and where the sport has come. Guys like that, but just thinking outside the box. often wish I could have grew up back in that day, where you can go to a wrecking yard and start there with digging up parts, and and then being a guy that can make a lot out of a little, and smart enough to find the right parts and pieces to put it together. The development stages of the racing back then. Now you kind of latch on to what's already out there and develop and put your own combination together. But you guys back then were whittling on things and actually building it for the first time.
So what's been the quickest ET you've had with the altered?
We went 564 and the speed of 257, and we did that last year in Woodburn. It's one of our nighttime match races that we go to, and we don't want to get too over center with what we have, but that's a race that usually has good conditions. The air's really good, the track's really good, and so we can kind of step on it a little bit, and we made some good runs there. We went 64, and I think we went 67, and then 72 there in the 3 runs that we made on Friday and Saturday night. So it was all pretty consistent right in that same area. It was some fun rides. Big header flames and going 257. My goal with the car, someday I'd like to go 270. So we're getting close, but man, driving into the chutes at anything over 220 is when they start kind of hitting, and then get 240, 250. They hit pretty hard when you dump the chutes finish line. You're hauling butt.
So what size fuel pump you got in that car?
It's a 32-gallon pump, and I've only in Woodburn have I run the pump into the motor. Usually I got a main jet on it, so I'm not running all of it. No, I started out with a points mag on the car the first 2 years that I ran the Heetseeker, and that was the only problems that we really ever had, is that thing liked to drop cylinders, and it was just a little too weak of a mag for the pump, I guess, and so we put a pro mag on it, and had instant results. Electronic magneto is just the way to go if they allow you to run it, and they're very forgiving and consistent, and so we've been running the MSD ever since.
So the body on the Heetseeker, what make is that body?
We call it a 34 Chevy, but it actually started out as a Dodge Prowler, and I ordered up just a half a body, and it showed up, and seemed like it was 8 feet wide and just this monstrosity of a car. And I think what they did is they pulled the mold off the car that you pull up to behind at the stoplight, and it is a really wide car, the factory edition, and so I cut it in half and narrowed it up and kind of gave it the look that I wanted, and molded it all back together, and then mounted it up and kind of made it into what I wanted to make it. I just liked the body lines. It had the fender on it and kind of some little running board looking, and so I kind of made it. To me, it looks like a 34 Chevy, so that's kind of what we labeled it as after we made it into a roadster.
All right. So have you ever raced against Tom Mochi's car?
No, I haven't. I watch a lot of videos on it. That thing's pretty awesome.
Man, a Jurassic plastic.
Yeah, that thing. If I had to guess, that car's probably got about a 65-gallon fuel pump on it. Something like that. Maybe bigger, who knows?
So tell me this, Dan. How'd you come up with the name Heetseeker?
My good buddy John Ruff, who's been around my racing career since I started sprint cars, and he was a crew member on the Heetseeker for the first three years, and he's an AC/DC guy, and he introduced it to me back in the day, and he had the name Heetseeker on a car that he retired, and I always thought it was cool, and so I asked him if I could use it, and he was going racing with us anyways, and he agreed to it, and I thought it was just a good fit. It's a good song too if you listen to it. It's all about racing.
Oh yeah. So you're a rock and roll guy.
Somewhat. I like all kinds of music, but AC/DC's right there at the top.
Now, what are some of your favorite tracks to run on?
My favorite tracks to run on? Well, Bakersfield's been awfully good to us, and that's always a fun time and a fun weekend with all my guys. But my favorite just the racetrack have to be Woodburn, Woodburn, Oregon, run by Joey Severance. It's always on point, and it's kind of one of them places that's close to home. Grew up in the Medford area, and so it's as close to home track as we could have that we run at. But good conditions, good people, good surface. Always make good runs there. So, but we go to Denver, Colorado, and that's a national event track, and I'll never forget the first time that I rolled down through the tower there, and it's pitch black on one side, and it's all lit up on the other side like a TV, and you pull down through the tower, and all of a sudden it's just like daylight on the other side. There's so many lights. That was a pretty awesome experience, looking up into the stands and seeing just a ton of people in these huge grandstands. You're like, they put on one big event. It's like unbelievable how many people come out there.
So how many times have you been to Denver now?
Been there 3 times, and we're going to be going there again this coming summer too. We're already talked to a sporty Bandamere there, and he wants us to come back, and we made some good runs there last year and this year. So they like to see cars that perform consistently, and we pride ourselves in making good, consistent runs because we don't want to change too much and go out there and find out how much fun it's not to make good, to foul them up and shake and smoke the tires or whatever. So, okay.
Yeah. So now that was your idea to put the American Eagle on the car?
The Eagle actually came. We were looking at some. We didn't even have the Eagle at the time. We got the name Heetseeker, and we were looking into some cruise shirts. And this one cruise shirt came up online, and that Eagle on our cruise shirt that we have now is where the Eagle started. And it was like a demo shirt, and we looked at it. Man, we actually made that put it on the car. My friend Dave James down in Central Point, he's an airbrush wizard. He projected that image on the car and drew it all out and then airbrushed it all on the car. So it's paint, where in a day of stickers and wraps, my car is all paint. The gold leaf on it I did by hand, and I like to see a paint job. I'm not a wrap kind of guy.
Yeah, the car looks awesome, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So now, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from?
I got a Simpson fire suit, and I wear all Simpson stuff, from the hybrid, head and neck restraint, and helmet and stuff. But there's something that a guy'd like to get a deal on, get some sponsorship from. Boy, the price of that safety gear and keeping these cars with blower bags and seat belts and buckets and all the stuff you have to recertify in the off season is pretty substantial. So it's all part of the game and part of being safe and them keeping an eye on their product. But at the same time, it's expensive and kind of a bummer. And you got to send in a part that you know is perfect, but you got to get it blessed with a new sticker, and a couple $100 here, and then the shipping and on and on. It's thousands of dollars every season.
Yeah, I can imagine. So now, what have been some of the milestones of your drag racing career so far?
The milestones, we've won the March meet 3 times out of the 5 years that it's been running, and went to the finals one other time. We won the Night Fire Nationals this last year in Boise for the first time, where we've been, I think we've been there 3 years now, and struggled the other couple of years for some reason. But those be our big milestones, and running consistently, and in the low 6s when we need to, and then at some of these match races. You know, we run, 5, 60, 70s, 80s pretty much all the time, and it's just it's a lot of fun. I'm very very fortunate, and the people that put the effort into it with me, to go racing and help out. And it's I don't know. It's a lifelong dream and a goal, and at the same time, it's a lot of effort and energy, and I don't know. It's a roller coaster of emotion, I guess. You gotta love racing.
Well, it seems like it's been paying off for you, though.
Oh yeah, it definitely has, and hoping that my kids now are 15 and 16 years old, and hopefully the years to come just involve them more and more, and they'll get more and more educated all the time on what makes it tick, and who knows, maybe one of these days I'll bolt one of them guys into the seat.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
So now, throughout your career, have you had any accidents or close calls at all?
Not since I quit racing sprint cars. Back in the sprint car days, you never really worked on the motor much. If you had a good motor program, you ever pulled the hood off the motor at the races, or off the car at the races. But you'd be going through parts, guy'd bang you a wheel or Nerf bar, or you get upside down and tear it all up. But you buy car parts. I mean, you go drag racing, it's just the opposite. You don't want to be bouncing the thing off the wall. So now I've never ran in anything but one cone so far with the old Heetseeker, and keep that stuff to a minimum. stay on top of the drivetrain. Motor clutch and transmission. You better keep an eye on it.
Well, knock on wood, you're not going to have any accidents.
No, we'll be all right. And if we do, we got all the right safety gear, and hopefully I never have to test it.
So you ready for a few fun questions now, Dan?
Sure.
Do you have any hobbies outside of drag racing?
Yeah, me and my boys, we ride dirt bikes, and I like to watch my kids play sports. So that'd be my two hobbies there, outside of running the drag racing team.
All right. So now, since you've been driving this field altered, has there been a greatest competitor for you out of all these field altered drivers?
I have to say Jeremy Sullivan early on. We always seem to match up a lot, but other than that, I always enjoy running Keith Wilson and the Witch Doctor. That thing's pretty much an animal in itself, and him and his brother and Leanne, they're just super awesome people. Love hanging out with them at the races too. So anytime they're around, that's somebody I like to match up with.
Now, how many trophies and plaques and stuff like that have you won throughout your career?
Well, my career in drag racing is basically from 14 to now, and there's seven trophies up there. Not too bad. We got a pretty good ratio. What I take pride in is we've made over 100 runs, and only had maybe 5 or 6 of those runs were anything but just a straight clean run. Whether I had to pedal it or we blew a fuel line off one time, and stuff like that. So we're more often than not we make it to the finish line on a good run.
All right. Now, if you could time travel and go backwards in time, would you do anything differently with your drag racing career?
I probably would have focused on that, making money in a career. I've always wanted to go racing, and so I started too young. Like getting in trouble in class, reading Hot Rod magazine. So I focused on my schoolwork. If I did anything to do over again, I'd have probably focused on being successful in business first, and then maybe been able to go on and race on a little bit higher level. But I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing because I'm a blue collar guy. I'm just get up and go to work every day, and but I work hard at building up my own stuff, and um, you know, I'm pretty lucky to grow up in the environment that I did. Always had my dad and my uncle always had a shop to work in, and when you're working in a shop with family or other people that can show you something, if you want to learn it, there's always somebody there to teach it usually, and I always wanted to learn something new all the time, so passing that on to my kids now.
All right, now here's a easy question for you. What's your favorite food to eat?
My favorite food to eat, probably steak fajitas.
All right. What's your favorite beverage of choice?
Favorite beverage of choice. How about a Crown and Seven?
What's your favorite non-alcoholic beverage of choice?
Oh, probably Mountain Dew.
Nah, you're like my wife. That's her favorite, Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Now, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time. How about Six Pack with Kenny Rogers?
I never saw that movie.
Really, it's good. It's a circle track movie. It's pretty awesome. Some foul-mouthed kids on there. It's pretty fun.
All right. So when you were a kid growing up, Dan, what was your favorite cartoon?
Tasmanian Devil.
Yeah. So Looney Tunes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Looney Tunes.
It doesn't sound as cool as Tasmanian Devil.
Yeah. So, did you have a favorite TV show when you were growing up?
Oh, I remember watching like Fall Guy and Dukes of Hazzard.
$6 Million Man.
There you go. Lee Majors, huh?
Yeah, Bionic Woman. Yeah. So now, when you're at the racetrack, Dan, do you eat regularly, or are you a light eater on a race day?
Oh no, my wife takes good care of us. We pretty much have breakfast, lunch, and dinners with the crew and all the people. We stay at the track in our motor home, and that's where you get to maximize your race weekend. I like staying at the track. A lot of people go to motels, motorhoming it, hanging out at the races, staying up late and telling stories. It's a lot of good times are had at the racetrack.
Yeah, I know some guys, they don't want to eat too much though. They wait till after the races are done.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem eating on race day. I'm not a fat guy, but I don't miss too many meals.
All right, now can you think of one most embarrassing moment you had on the track that you can share with us?
Yeah, we had a malfunction at a qualifier at the March meet one year and had some spark plug wires crisscrossed, and I got pretty upset walking over to the truck because I actually had to shut my car off and get out and walk away from it. And I remember throwing a glove in the back of my truck, and it didn't just go into the bed. It took off like a Frisbee and cleared the fence. And I ended up in the grandstand. Somebody had to walk back over and hand me my glove, so that was pretty embarrassing. Humbling.
Yeah.
I deserved it.
All right. So, what would you consider to be the fondest memory of your drag racing career so far?
Fondest memory is winning the March meet for the first time and having my family there. That's definitely it.
All right. So, now, if you and your family have time to take vacation, what's your favorite vacation spot to go to?
Really take the time to go on vacation. So we've been to Magic Mountain. we've done the Disneyland thing when they were younger. So we just moved up here to Washington. So we're fixing to have a vacation. It's been a lot of work moving and getting settled in, and boys starting school at a different school, and so a lot of changes have happened recently in where we live.
So how important do you think it is for families to bring their kids out to watch drag racing these days?
Oh, it's huge. You gotta take that Xbox and throw it in the bushes,
Yeah.
and take your kids to the races and show them what reality and real life's all about. Everybody lives in a fantasy land, wanna want something for nothing, and you just don't even know what's out there half the time.
Yeah. I think if the kids can watch some of these nitro cars, I think they'll get hooked on watching them.
Oh, definitely. My kids, I hope they realize how spoiled they are. They've stood on the starting line behind the car, and got to be right there through the full experience. So, and when they were real young, they had to stay in the truck and kind of weasel them into being able to stand on the starting line these days. So that's pretty addicting right there in itself.
Yeah. So now, if people that are listening to the interview want to find your schedule, the best way would be the Facebook page, the Heetseeker.
Yeah, the Heetseeker Facebook page. Try and keep that updated. We hope to, maybe Instagram, but we'll be adding some more dates. Hopefully we can go to seven or eight races this summer. That's a lot of work to go to 7 or 8 races, so I don't want to go to too many. I want to go to the ones that we like to go to. We like to go to good tracks and maximize our experience. We don't go to every little podunk local track that may or may not allow us to get down the track safely. We go to tracks that are capable of allowing you to run good numbers if you want. Do it right.
All right, now, do you have any final words or thank yous you want to give out to anybody that might be listening?
I just want to thank all the people that helped me make this happen, from family and friends to sponsors and crew guys, and guys like my dad, Steve, and my brother that were there from when I was a kid to helping me get started. Steve Kiyukas is a mentor friend of mine that's shown me a lot in the fabrication world. It's allowed me to up my game and do things on the level. I've learned a lot from a lot of people. My Uncle Dave was a mentor as a kid. I always looked up to him, and he kind of set the bug early of getting involved in racing, and then you just take it from there. I think you either got it or you don't. You got to be inspired, and it's can't even put a number on the level of effort that it takes to do it. You don't even pay attention to how much it costs or what it takes to do it. You just do it.
Right. Well, Dan, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do an interview tonight.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me and asking me to do it.
Oh, no problem. We'll do another one in the future. Maybe next year we'll somewhere around in the mid season or something. We'll see how you're doing.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good.
All right. Yep.
We'll be hard at work getting ready for the upcoming season and see how things go.
All right. Well, you have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year and all that good stuff.
All right. Thanks. Merry Christmas to you, and appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, no problem. You have a great night, Dan.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.